Hey, hello. It's What's the Story? My name is Janice Hermson, and I'm your host. And I am here with Ed Knoll, Doug Ashby. We are at the LaRue Press Studio in Reno, Nevada. And
in the basement of the GSR. No.
Right across.
Yeah.
Right across.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lake view of the GSR.
I'm downtown.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But if you are looking for a good book, looking to publish a book, need some printing done, all those things, I'll do my little commercial here.
I was going to say LaRue Press, right? It's just like the
Absolutely.
Ohio State license in the heart of it all.
We are. That was pretty good. Yeah, I like that. So we say all your business and writing needs all under one roof, and that's what we give you. So thank you for joining us, and like us if you do, because that helps with all the different things that happen out there, and people need to know that we're alive and well and doing things. Ed was just asking, do we think people are alive out there? I think they are.
Well, and I know I picked up some random thing with dictionary pages, but do you know, like in this dictionary, what comes after Attorney General? A Twitter.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that's an old dictionary.
Yep.
What year is that one? 85 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I think that's appropriate. They're probably tied in. The best I know, they're synonyms.
That's pretty funny. A Twitter. Yeah. Well, and now they're an X, not a Twitter.
Well,
even,
but this
so.
is a Twitter, meaning
Right.
nervously concerned, excited gossips with speculation.
Ah, okay.
That's a Twitter?
Yes.
Who knew, huh?
That was before it was Twitter, Elon Musk's Twitter.
Mhm.
I like that, he has X now and he's coming out and he's using it because I think a lot of people are actually reading it and they're hopefully coming out from underneath a rock and don't listen to ABC, NBC, and CBS and saying, wait a minute, there's a lot going on here. I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell the public short. I think we have a lot of smart people out there too.
We do. And I think that there were a lot of them in 2016 after President Trump won that started to be kind of enlightened as to what was going on. And I think it was happening before, but I think it really started to happen in 2016 and then 17 when he was inaugurated, and things started to move in weird directions, and the left started doing some pretty crazy things and accusing him of Russia, and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that was part of how it was so disruptive that people had to pay attention. And then when things came out later and you saw how much the media lied and how the government lied. I mean, now you're like, well, now we can't believe anything.
Well,
right?
Did you see that the California against Hunter Biden, they got him going to jail now for being an agent of another country.
Right.
The Congress had kind of dropped, but they found it in his tax case, and it's not Congress, right? It's California finding it, so we know it happened.
Here's kind of a generic question. Do you think before Biden's term is over that he will commute any of his sons?
If he can, I would think he would.
I would think he would.
He's going to have a challenge.
Pardon?
It's not going to be done. He's going to have to send a letter to President Trump to get him to pardon.
I don't
if
know
it's
about
after
that.
the
I
fact.
heard something that potentially he could do something even before. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I heard.
When you're hypothecating, thinking of these things in the future, this is again the talking head I heard on the radio on the way in. They said, what if after the Democratic convention, when Kamala Harris is their official candidate, Biden stepped forward and says, I'm going to resign my presidency. And then we get her as president. She would be running.
She wouldn't have to do anything, though. It's 1 or 2 months,
She would
right?
be running. What's the point?
Matter.
She'd
She
be
would
running.
be a sitting president.
Right.
Well, right, which
Right.
is an advantage.
It's an advantage to her. Yeah.
Why would we want that?
Oh, we wouldn't. Oh, absolutely not. But these are, these people sit in corners in dark rooms, and people, oh really, and people slip envelopes underneath.
So they pulled
underneath the door, and they say, "What do you think of this?"
Speaking of that, I was listening to a Tucker Carlson show, and he was talking with somebody who had been alive when Nixon was going through all of his stuff, and saying that Nixon wasn't guilty. Yeah, he resigned, but he wasn't guilty, at least according to this guy, and he seemed to know what he was talking about. And they were going through the whole thing of how all this stuff happened. And you were saying dark rooms and slipping envelopes and it was that kind of thing, right? And it was like, why is the CIA involved? The CIA is not supposed to be involved in any of this. And yet every time you turn around, the CIA is involved. And in today's world, it's always the FBI.
The CIA is outside the country.
But they're all, during that time, half of the people involved in Watergate were CIA.
Nixon's resignation is child's play compared
to today.
Absolutely.
Yes, it definitely is.
Have you noticed during the Biden administration, we've lost confidence, certainly in the presidency. We've lost confidence in the FBI. We've lost confidence in the CIA. We have, name another, the Attorney General, we have lost confidence
in. What about police? Just on a local level.
Yes.
You've lost confidence in the police.
So
because
I'm
they
going to
can't
say
get anything done.
I'm going to say I haven't lost because I never had. I'm just saying, right? If you have faith in those institutions 4 years ago, I think you got a problem then.
No, I thought I was brought up to believe that the FBI was just awesome. Especially if you were an FBI agent.
And here's the hard part, because anybody out there who has a person that's in, any of these services, right? FBI, Secret Service, all these different entities, CIA, and they know them. I mean, I know people here who said, I used to be, I was in the CIA, blah, blah, blah. And you look at them and you go, well, I would trust him. And yet today you look at it and say, but I wouldn't today, even if you were in. But you have to realize that it's a certain level of them that are untrustworthy, right? And generally, I think that's the higher levels that are untrustworthy.
It's the proverbial apple, right? The apple in the bunch, it spoils them all. Exactly. But we need to throw the Secret Service into that list.
But it's not the worker bees, right? It's right. They have in all these organizations, they have as many chiefs as they have Indians, and the chiefs need to be pared back about 90%. Right. And that's the problem is you have these mouthpieces that are just non-elected administrative opinionators, just like me, just like me, but the government's paying them to do work and they're biasing their work.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at their title, Federal Bureau of what? Investigations. That's what they do. That's what the FBI does. And they're hiring usually were CPAs and people that were good with bookwork because that's what they did.
Right. I actually know somebody who's an FBI agent, and he was a CPA, and that's exactly, and he's now in the FBI.
I had a firsthand experience with an FBI agent. When I was working, there was bank robbers that went into a bank. They jumped up on the desk and they fired their guns into the ceiling and robbed the place. Yeah, very deal. One of the women in there climbed underneath the desk and we couldn't get her out. But anyway, during this whole, literally, it was a terrible deal. FBI shows up. Trust me, it wasn't these robust guys, muscular people. They were all spectacled. And this is my take of it, little green visors. What they were bookkeepers because this was a bank robbery. And that's what they do. They investigate that. Right.
I've had my own interesting kind of connection. Someone from the FBI tried to contact me. This was 20 years ago. And I thought it was a fraud. I called the FBI local office and said, hey, somebody's saying they're with the FBI trying to get a hold of me. And they go, oh, no, she is. Right. And I met with her. And it's because my neighbors worked for the DEA, and they were going to Washington to
Oh,
work
okay.
actually around the White House, and
So
they were
needed
getting,
referrals.
they were interviewing
Yeah.
me and did the, are they good citizens? Literally did that, right? You go, what? But anyway, that was my one experience. And I will say, my son is aspiring to be a serial
Killer.
murder chaser in the FBI. He is in college. He's a junior. He's going to get his master's. And let's hope there's some other young people with a clue to, by that time, we get the FBI back up on their feet where they're supposed to be.
And be an
Yeah,
FBI
on the
agent.
higher ends.
Yeah, let's
how
get
about-
some good people.
How about,
We need to quit running from these things and infuse these bad institutions with great people and change them.
how does the FBI have good pay?
Oh, yeah.
Do they?
They have good pay and you can retire in 20 years.
Really?
Just like Highway Patrol.
Yeah, but the
Military.
highway
Yeah.
patrol, two things. They don't have good pay. And the second thing is usually at 20 years, they can't wait to retire.
Well, right.
This
But then
from
they
a
can do
biased
anything they want
firefighter,
and they
by
get
the
a
way.
check and
Yeah.
they get a check, right?
Yeah, this from a biased firefighter. Just want to
That's
say
right.
that.
Anti-police
Yes.
firefighter.
Yes.
Well,
Just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Well,
Let's talk
no.
about books.
Wait a second.
Can people wear red and blue at the same time?
I am probably, matter of fact, I can make this as a flat statement. I am the only one in this room on this radio program that has been arrested and tried to be convicted. So I know the.
I don't know. I don't think you're accurate on that. I'm not going to go into my past, but I've seen the backside of a bar or two.
Hmm.
Not for any length of time, but I have a colorful past if someone wanted to look it up.
See, be careful what you say.
Yeah.
That's
All
right.
right. Well, so what's the difference between a preface, a prologue, an introduction, and a foreword? Oh, well, they're all part of the book's front matter, right? So if you're not familiar with how a book's put together, there is what is called front matter. You got your copyright page, you got your dedication.
Every
All-
one of those words had a upfront pre in it,
Right.
or
Right.
some
Preface,
other. Yeah.
intro, foreword, right? So it's all part of the book, but it's all before the main text. And I will be honest with you, before I was a publisher, there were often times when I didn't bother with any of those.
Yeah.
Preface, prologue,
That's the same way
introduction,
with
or
me.
foreword.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
just did not bother with it. Maybe you're one of those too. To an author, that would just be horrifying, right? Because they spend a lot of time thinking about how this needs to be put together, and they want to introduce you, the reader, to their book in different ways, and those pieces are important to them. So, but it's okay if you don't read them. It's okay.
No,
just-
no, do like I
no.
do like I do. If you don't read it, we know where you live.
So, what is a preface? And most often found in nonfiction books or academic writing. It's a short introductory essay written from the point of view of the author. So the author might use the preface to explain why they're qualified to write about the book's subject matter. It could be used for other functions such as explaining how they became interested in the subject matter of the book. So if you want to know a little bit of background about that author, that would be a good thing to read the preface. And you'll probably learn more than what you thought you would. So, prologue, typically found in works of fiction. So, preface, nonfiction, true stories, prologue, fiction, fake stories, like
Isn't
everything
prologue-
that's out there.
Wasn't prologue the name of a car too? Like there was a Honda,
Was there? I don't remember
something
that.
like that. But anyway,
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
I thought
We'll
it
have
was
to
a-
look it up.
I thought it was a candy.
it might have been a prelude.
Oh, no, that might be what it was. Yeah. Anyway, prologue, usually written from a character's point of view, either the main character or a character who brings a different perspective to the story. So if you're not reading the prologue, you might be missing part of the story. But most people don't know that. I didn't know that before I did publishing. I was a reader, but I
But
read.
even if you read the prologue, it may not have anything to do with the story.
Well, the introductory passage gives the reader additional information that's going to help to comprehend the rest of the book? Potentially. All right. You must have read books that didn't do that.
It seems to me like here it is, read it, and if you have trouble with words, look them up.
This can include background information on characters, events that took place before the story even begins, or information that establishes the setting of the story. So I think it's hard for the authors because people don't know the value of some of this stuff, right? They go out of their way to kind of like set it up and, and they really think about these things. They think about how they're going to put it together and how they're going to introduce certain things. So the prologue is going to give you information that if you just jump right into chapter 1, you might miss out and not understand because you haven't read the prologue. So just a word to the wise.
Well, right, but if you're,
I'm just telling my past self this.
Well, I was going to say, right, as you as a publisher advising authors, I would say, don't use that, right? Like I want to read a story about a story. I don't want to know. There's facts I need to know before I read the story.
Well, they have to know their audience, and maybe their audience would like.
No, what I like about it is, and what I did in my book, is you put an exciting story there. So they go, when they're through reading it, they go, wow, boy, I wonder what the rest of this.
And we go, oh, it's just like a movie trailer. You see the best scene in the movie, so you don't have to go.
All right. What's an introduction? The book's introduction is closely related to the content of the book itself, usually found in nonfiction. The introduction may summarize the main argument presented in the rest of the book, define any important terms, or fill in background details. The introduction is actually considered to be a part of the body of the book. And then they talk about how it's represented with Arabic numerals as opposed to the front matter, which uses Roman page numbers. They're getting very detailitis here. But it is one of the primary differences when it comes to the preface versus an introduction.
So, right. So a book shouldn't need a key to read it like a periodic table of elements, right? A book should have words that you read, right? It doesn't need
love your take on this.
Double baby A.
I knew you'd rip this apart.
That's Roman numeral 50.
All right. But it may instead provide context or deepen the meaning of the main action. So pay attention. All right, finally, the foreword. And I want to make note, foreword, foreword, not forward being like ward. Okay? So foreword is an introductory section of the book written by someone other than the author. So the author doesn't write this. The writer of the foreword is usually a prominent figure like an expert. You've seen those. Eddie Floyd had, now I'm not going to remember her name. Oh, that's terrible. Singer. Western. I'll come up with it later. Anyway, he had her do, and she's here local. He had her do the intro to his book. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the
yeah.
plumbing advertised gal, right? There's a country western singer. Anyway.
Don't know. All right.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's just my example. It's somebody other than the author. The writer of the foreword, usually a prominent figure, or maybe an expert on the subject, a New York Times bestselling author, prominent critic. A foreword which appears before chapter 1 lends credibility to the book and the author by praising the work of the author, praising the work, the writer, or both. A foreword can sometimes be a type of literary, turn the page, literary marketing tool publishers use to increase the profile of a book and attract casual readers, which is very true. If you have somebody that's famous that's doing
it's marketing,
foreword,
but
course.
But the challenge, yeah.
Okay. So who may decide that the published book is worth reading based on endorsement of the foreword's author? I mean, a lot of people are influenced by that, right? Not you, but there are a lot of people that are influenced, just like you're not influenced by number of reviews or by how they're reviewed, but other people are. Everybody's not like you.
Well, trust me, best I know, in any crowd, including this one of 3, I'm a minority.
Forewords may also accompany new editions of previously published work. So we might have done a foreword for yours, so that somebody would talk about that. So that's the difference between preface, prologue, introduction, and foreword. So there you go. That's my little ditty for the day.
Looks to me like books would be about half as thick if we remove those items.
No, because those are short. They're generally not a long, a long dissertation, if I can say that. I know, you're frustrated.
I am. I just think it's like sad.
All right. You're listening to What's the Story, by the way, just in case you forgot.
Wait a second. That wasn't meant for the audience. That was meant for the two of us.
Just a little reminder. What's the Story book count? Yeah, okay. All right. So what is your favorite book genre? You guys have a favorite book genre?
A favorite book title?
Book genre. No, the genre. Like, do you read fantasy? Do you read mystery? Do you read nonfiction?
I like historical novels.
Oh, okay.
Because at the end of it, you're smarter. What can I say? Well, at least I like to think I am. You know, it's amazing how many things I am.
He's just going to keep going.
I am now down to the last 30 or 45 pages of a book that I recommended 2 weeks
Is that
ago.
The Women?
My gosh, it has perked itself right up to the top as being one of the best books that I have read. And the reason I say that is because it satisfied a couple of my requirements. One, I'm learning something. But two, this author, this morning I read about 20 pages, and it was a negative part of the book about the character was going through these terrible things. I got up from sitting there and I felt terrible because I was living it the way this author that described it. And I honestly mean that, folks. If you want a good book,
The Women.
it really, and her name is Christine Hanna, and she's written several, and I didn't realize it, but in my library at home, I do have another one of her books, and I think I'm going to bounce off of this one back into that one because I enjoy the way she writes.
So if your favorite book genre happens to be historical fiction, this is sort of like doing an astrological forecast,
Yeah,
right?
you going back in time. You were like a foot soldier to the king.
Well, here's what it says. I just kind of like this article. It's from Bustle. And I just liked it because it did this similar to, like, you go to, oh, I'm an Aquarius. Oh, what does it say about an Aquarius, right? And you read that. Well, this is similar. So if you love historical fiction, you love fiction, but you also love fact. You like knowing what's going to happen and aren't a big fan of surprises. You have a very detailed planner on you at all times, but every so often aren't afraid to indulge in a few spontaneous activities. You have a sharp eye for detail and are sometimes, more like all the time, called a perfectionist in your work. You're a people watcher and enjoy listening to your friends and family tell you stories of the past. How about that?
Yes, that fits.
Is that you?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank goodness it wasn't me.
Again, flipping back to this book, one of the reasons I think that I like it, growing up, I was young and naive. And naive,
growing up, you were young.
No, naive is just a positive word to say that you were really stupid, And
So ignorance isn't a bad thing, right? Not knowing something is pretty common for all of us.
But one of the things that she does, it's about a nurse who spent two years in Vietnam as a trauma nurse. And she goes into the Vietnam War and she explains very graphically and very, very intelligently the way we were continued to be lied to by our government, by our president, by the Secretary of Defense, anybody, the news media, people were just. And what it's done is it's crushed the way I thought about those younger years. I liked it when I was young and naive. I really did. But now, unfortunately, you fast forward, and I use that same template on what we're going through today. Nothing has changed.
So
Nothing
I
has
do have a
changed.
comment to our foreword, preface, etc. Sometimes reading a foreword or preface lets you know what inspired the book. So there you go.
That has some
True.
meaning.
Yeah.
I
There you
think your motivation for writing has merit, but somebody who's already made it writing something nice about you, whether you know them or not, that's BS. And then, but
Okay,
anyway.
so let me see. I don't know if I have your favorite genre. I'm pretty sure I know what
So
it is.
mine's pretty,
Yes, I
I
do.
would say non-gory murder mystery.
Mystery thriller, would you say?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so let's look what
So
Mr.
I'll be
Mystery
really
Thriller
common. I'm going to
is.
be really right.
So it says, after reading Gone Girl, you couldn't stop thinking about it for weeks. You're exceptionally talented at picking up on foreshadowing and clues, so your friends tend to stay away from you when Game of Thrones is on to avoid spoilers. You look at life as a mystery itself and are always searching for the bigger meaning of things. You're a little quieter than the rest, but that's only because you genuinely enjoy being a mystery yourself. Ooh, does
So
that
really
fit?
accurate, except it's Game of Thrones. It's a game book. I've never watched it.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't interest me because things that are popular don't interest me.
Right. So that's
Don't say that.
that's 2
We're
of
popular.
Watch
that-
the story. The brand is popular.
So that's 2 categories, which is so funny because those are 2 of my favorite categories.
Really?
So yeah, they
Did
are
you
both
find
historical.
that your description of it fits you?
Sorta. Sorta.
It's like generic horoscopes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I could say probably a lot of that fits, but I'm not a fan. So I know that there are a lot of people out there that love fantasy. So I thought I would read the one on fantasy. Right?
On this note, just really quick, my son, we talked about him going to the FBI.
Yes.
He told me it's a result of me watching the X-Files and me watching and reading murder stuff that he wants to go solve them.
Huh, interesting.
I thought so.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, that's the biggest compliment I've ever had.
All right. So for those of you out there who might be fantasy lovers, you prefer to read about huge and complex worlds where your imagination can roam as it pleases. Ever since you were a child, you've been more interested in mythology than anything else. You're a daydreamer and often zone out while at school or work thinking of the next great adventure you'll go on. When it comes to your friends, you've got some of the best, and you'll never treat them wrong because you know how valuable true friendship is after reading The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. So there you go. And then for Brian, because remember Brian T. Shirley?
Yep. I
know, and Brian T. Shirley is an actor. He's a comedian. He's an all-around guy, and he's really great. Look him up, briantshirley.com, and check out what he does because he's awesome. But I know that he really liked horror, and he did some horror films.
Well, right. He does those short movies that are, he's doing great.
Right. He is. Though I really love The Senator. That was the one that he did that I just thought he was really good in. So anyhow, like Stephen King, you believe everyone should read more horror books. You aren't scared easily, and the feeling of adrenaline rising in you is almost addicting. You're the risk taker in your friend group, and when you go to an amusement park, you're the first one in line for the wildest rides. You're one heck of a storyteller, and your friends know that when you pull on the flashlight of a bonfire, they're in for a story that'll haunt them for the rest of the week. So there you go. Tells a good story, right?
Yeah.
So that's my little gig on unless somebody has something else, anybody want to know others, they've got horror, let's say I did horror, mystery thrillers, literary fiction, nonfiction, romance, lots of romance people out there, right?
Well, if we're scoreboarding it, right? If you're looking at the top 10 books.
Yes, definitely. Romances.
That's one of the things.
And from a used book standpoint, we sell a ton of romance. That's kind of one of the big categories that we sell a lot of. Go ahead.
You know, with and I try to tell Debbie this. She likes, you know, horror stories and things like that. I say,
She
you know,
likes horror?
yeah, she
I didn't know that.
And one of the things I tell her, I said, you know, if I'd like that, I could, you know, I should just go to work, because that's when you stop and think about it. And this kind of worried about myself is the fact, especially when I was in communications and I was answering 911 calls. You know, I thought, God, you know, you're going to take a call, take this information down, speak to these people for less than a minute. And aren't you going to wonder what on earth happened past that? But you find, and same thing with going on rescues, going on fires, one just pushes the other back in.
Yeah.
You know, back in
If
your
you had
memory.
one in a month, it'd be that.
Exactly.
But if you have like one every hour,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And you just say, well, do they get lost in your mind? Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of them do.
So here's for those of you who might be romance readers. For you, no book is a great book without a powerful love story included. Your tastes range from Gone with the Wind to 50 Shades of Grey and everything in between. You're a passionate person at heart and always go the extra mile to satisfy someone you love. You always manage to keep a positive outlook on life, even if you've hit rock bottom. You have high expectations when you go on dates, but you're also pretty talented at wooing just about anyone that glances in your direction. That's a romantic person.
so right. So
I
if
think that
that
probably fits.
that reminds me of a problem of like somebody likes you, but you don't really like them, but you're going out with them just because you can. Right? That's what that's bad. I hate people like that, right? That is uncool.
Yeah, but that's probably a romance person, I'm guessing.
Totally, right? But like, why? What? That looks to me like the result is zero.
Well, for you, but probably not for them because they're enjoying the ride. All right, let's go with science fiction. I'm kind of a science fiction
I like
person.
sci-fi. I like
Yeah.
sci-fi is like
used to be my
predictive of
favorite.
the future.
Yeah, that used to be
No.
my favorite. No, I
Nah.
used to love sci-fi. I'm not such a fan anymore, but
No.
you love reading about intergalactic adventures and futuristic events that could one day happen. I think I did like it because that was the goal there. But then all that stuff started to happen, and I was like, "Oh my
Well,
goodness,
right, it
this
is.
is not so good anymore."
For sure.
You know,
Tricoders
let me
from
read
the
the rest.
1969
Yeah,
Star
exactly.
Trek or
Yes.
iPhones.
Exactly.
where I get lost in this is when they say, yes, that's 1.5 billion light years away.
Yeah,
How can you relate to that?
you don't have to.
You don't have to. Why?
You just use your imagination
Yeah.
and go there, right?
So what? So
you don't have
you
to make
can,
it real.
You
It
can
doesn't
go
have
to
be real.
Australia in like 28 hours. What's that? I mean, it's
All
the same thing.
So when you were a kid, you didn't always fit in. Oh, that's true. Because you were thinking about new worlds and characters bigger than the boring middle school you were stuck in. You often have really great ideas, but are sometimes afraid to speak up. With your smart wits, you and everyone around you knows you'd be the one to live through any apocalyptic event.
That's kind of weak.
That
I
is
think.
kind of weak. But you know what they don't have is like things with doomsday type books, because those are the ones that I really love. But it's really more movies than it is books. You know, end of the world type things. I like those.
So like
which I guess is sort of like science fiction.
The
right?
Towering Inferno.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
yeah, right. Or
Airport.
yeah.
Airport was the very first one I ever saw.
I think mine was
So
Towering
funny.
Inferno, right?
Yep. So there you go. And not you. I can see that. Not you.
No, not at all. That's what they used to call, if you put Towering Inferno and earthquakes together.
Well, right. There was the
And then earthquake
or
yeah.
Poseidon Adventure,
yes, that was
right?
good
That,
too.
or they,
Yep.
yeah.
That was
There you go.
Towering Inferno and
Yep.
earthquakes.
Oh yeah, those are great.
No, it was going to be called Shake and Bake.
There you go. Well, how about nonfiction? I'll go ahead and read nonfiction now too. You always have the newest memoir or autobiography in hand before anyone else does. You're a great listener and enjoy getting to know someone by their odd quirks and anecdotes. You are often looking for new ways to improve yourself and the lives around you. You love making big gestures because you desire to live a great life worth telling someday. Huh, that's interesting.
I guess, but I
don't think it's as
Again-
well done as some of the
again,
other
this
ones.
is me, but if you're like, so my thing about autobiographies or any biographies, if that person's alive, you should know, right? From newspaper, from reading, internet, you got everything you can find about that person not being presented to
Okay,
you.
that's not true. I'm reading Hillbilly Elegy, which is
Okay.
about J.D. Vance, and
Uh-huh.
that's not true because what I'm reading in there, you're never going to hear about. I mean, I actually didn't enjoy part of the book, not because it wasn't well written or any of that, but it was like, ugh, that's ugly.
Yeah.
That hurts. That's painful. Because it's real, number one. You know who this person is now, and you know that they've succeeded and done all those things. But wow, what a road to get there, right? And even if and let's just say that he embellished and that it's not completely, wholeheartedly true. It's still tough.
So
It's still tough.
I think that the book by that person, right, in this case, our VP, and
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I would think that if you're writing a book, you embellish when you get news from all sources, it's more factual. That's just me.
Yeah, that might be true.
Multi-sourced versus somebody
Yeah, but you
writing
get
a book.
right, but from the person writing the book, you get how they felt about it, right? You get whether it's true or not, doesn't matter.
Correct.
That's
That's correct.
And that might be what you're really talking about is, but you get, like, if I wrote about my life, I mean, it would be weird. It would be, it would, because I had a weird life, especially early on. So, and there were so many odd things. And you'd also say, oh, that didn't really happen to you. That did not happen. Right. So it's just, I don't know. I just think it's interesting to read something. And I'm using myself as a point of reference because I'm reading this about him and I'm thinking, wow, that's how he internalized all that. Right. All the things that happened to him. And that's how he internalized it. And it's just interesting. And again, I didn't really like parts of it because of that, because it was painful and I didn't want to read about that. You want to read the good stuff, I guess. Right. Kind of. Am I wrong?
I think people want to feel good.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't matter what the reading is. They just want to feel good.
Yeah. And that was just kind of painful. So, but it's not a bad book. It's just, and it's not real long either. And he comments at the beginning about the fact that what am I doing at my age writing a memoir, right? I mean, I'm young, and why should I be doing this? Well, it's obvious he was looking to, build his career and somebody told him write a book. So he did. And it worked.
It's a good thing they didn't tell him to jump off a building.
Well,
so I think he's super smart.
Based on his book, he wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things you'll do and some things you won't. Oh, so I thought that was kind of interesting, though, all the little tidbits. And that, like I said, that's from Bustle, Bustle. You can go on there. If I haven't read your genre, then, or let us know what your genre is if I haven't. And I'll look it up, see if it's here.
Yeah, or tell us who you are in that genre.
That's right. How do you fit in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, well, I think I have used up. I guess we can go now. I've used everything up.
All right.
No, I'm kidding. But we do still have our book blitz to do.
You want me to start off?
Do you want to?
Sure.
Okay, you can take your time because we got a little bit of time today.
Okay.
I finished up early.
What do you need to tell me that?
I think we all better be paying closer attention.
The name of the book is, and I try to tie it into whatever we're talking about, this and that, which is really kind of hard to do because from the start of the program to where we are now, we never know where we're going to be.
It's true.
But the name of the book is The Good Life, Lessons from the World's Longest Scientific Study on Happiness. And this was in January of 2023. It was written by Robert Waldinger, MD, and Mark Schultz, PhD. and it had 1,797 ratings. And I want to put this in proper perspective. I'm a Whitney Houston fan. You know, she did the movie The Bodyguard, and unfortunately, she lost her life at a very, very young age. Over the past 10 years, hits on her website have been 1.5 billion.
Wow.
She could belt it out.
Do you think we could catch that? Maybe.
She could belt it out, but
Yes, she could.
unfortunately, she was natting.
This book is a New York Times bestseller. What makes for a happy life, a fulfilling life, a good life. In their captivating Wall Street Journal book, the directors of the Harvard Study of Adult Development, the longest scientific study on happiness ever conducted, shows that the answers to these questions may be closer than you realize. What makes life fulfilling and meaningful? The simple but surprising answer is relationships. The stronger our relationships, the more likely we are to live happy, satisfying, and healthier lives. In fact, the Harvard Study of Adult Development reveals that the strength of our connection with others can predict the health of both our bodies and our brains as we go through life.
There you go.
Boy, what could you?
Do you think they're right about that? They
No.
weren't right about the protesters,
No,
right? I mean,
No.
serious.
No, I think that's rather arrogant to make a statement. This is what you have to do for a good life.
But did you notice the authors' names?
Yes.
They had a PhD
Oh, yeah.
and an MD. Anybody with
Right.
letters is going to say they're
And-
smarter than you.
And since we're bringing up things like that, did you see how many ratings they got?
Yeah,
It's not
1,797.
very many.
No, it's none.
No,
Not for a book
compared to
from-
Houston Whitney.
Yeah.
Whitney
Houston.
Yeah, Houston. Whitney Houston.
Yep.
No, it's not.
It's
Yeah.
true. 352 pages they did on that. Simon and Schuster published
But
that
you
one.
know, it is, you have to read a book like that to put it in proper balance. Life.
Have you
you know,
read this book
I
yet?
think, no, I have not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
I think that that for some people could be very, very true. But I think, I see the man sitting next to me. He has 2 wives, and he's a happy guy. He's well adjusted.
He's picking on you.
So I have 2 ex-wives, and best I know, I've been divorced for 15 years. So that's my challenge. I try to do what these books say. They don't freaking work. I'm telling you now.
Listen to Ed.
I'm living it, right? We don't need to see a book on that one.
It's a good choice, wasn't it?
It was a good choice. Yes, it was. All right. Did you find your book? I know you didn't bring your papers.
I found my author. He came out with a new book, and this gentleman's an ex-NFL player, and football's new for him, and they've decided to be user-friendly and do things for society. So this Malcolm Mitchell has written a number of books all about getting kids to read at an early age. Oftentimes we talk about books that we don't want in our schools, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Folks that are writing quality, this book, The Magician's Hat by Malcolm Mitchell, he's written 3 or 4 books, and he's just come out with a new one, actually, that's about a kid whose adventures. He's read every book in the library. That's his adventure. Now what's he do?
Huh.
And that's the
Is that
story.
my very favorite book in the whole wide world? Is
Yep.
that it?
No. It's a new book. I'm on the same website. It's not here.
Oh, okay.
He was on Scripps News today talking about it with the NFL's help. But these books are also in his educational. He writes them, and
they're also available via Audible.
Yeah. And
That's cool.
Anyway, I love folks trying to lift up kids, and using football to get young people to read is a smart thing. Let's be smart.
Yeah. He's also got Free Money, Plan for
Yeah.
prosperity. So
Yeah,
for adults too.
Well, he's talking about football players.
Right.
Right? They come up and lose it all. He's a
Right.
young African-American guy with a clue.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn, huh? Do
Yep.
we have time? Let me look and see if we have time. Hold on a second. I got to get rid of this screen. I know. Housekeeping stuff, right? Stop sharing. All right. There you go. I figured
I
it
don't
out.
know. So I think we should coordinate screens and subject like opposites.
I don't
Right?
understand
So you
that.
can put up cows and we can talk about
Oh,
something else.
books.
Well, or Animal Farm or something.
Oh, you want to? Well, that's the same. I thought you were trying to do like something different.
Well,
than-
most cows aren't communist. They have a hierarchy.
Oh, okay. If you say so. All right. Well, I was walking around yesterday and I said, I need to have a book. And last time I had not read the book that I chose. It was The Apprentice, and I think it was Tess Gerritsen. And so I did it again because I love looking at book covers. And our place is nothing but books. Well, we have printers too, but but it's just so full of books. It's just for me. It's it's an adventure every day. So this one is, I want to look at the copyright date on it because I want to tell you when it's from. I think it was 2018. Yep, 2018. Bring Me Back, a novel by B.A. Paris. And I picked it not because of the author, but because of what I read on the back and the cover. And the cover it's just, I don't know, it just attracted me to it. And so, and all it says on the back is, she vanished a decade ago. His girlfriend disappeared. He lied. He told the police the truth about that night, just not the whole truth. Their secrets won't stay buried. Now he's moved on, but the past isn't done with him yet. So that was, okay, maybe, right? Maybe I'll read this. Maybe
Sounds
I won't.
like the left trying to get Trump.
Maybe so, right? And then it says, Paris once again proves, this is from the Library Journal, Paris once again proves her suspense chops, right? But then it says, an outstanding Hitchcockian thriller, Publishers Weekly. Well, Alfred Hitchcock was somebody that I love to read. So it attracted me for that reason. And I'm telling you this primarily for the writers out there that, you wonder, what do I put on my book? How do I convey the messaging? So for me, the messaging was, Alfred Hitchcock, I'm a fan. I'll take a look.
You have to be X number of ages to get
of
that.
course,
Right?
but that's who they know their audience is then. And that's the key, right? Who's your audience? Do you know your audience? Even if you're 20, if you know you're appealing to somebody who's 50, 60, 70, 80, then figure out who those people would read that are like you and put that on your book.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know that you are similar to X, Y, or Z. So anyway, it's Bring Me Back, B.A. Paris. I didn't look at how many reviews or any of those things.
What's the author's name?
B.A. Paris.
B.A.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through, and I started to read part of it, and it was an easy read to start, and that's important to me too because I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to read during lunch, dinner, whatever. I read a chapter here and there when I read a print book. Otherwise, I read audibles. So
that's really when is your reading time?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Really,
Yeah. I mean, that's the only for a print book. That's the only time. Otherwise, while I'm working, I'll be listening to an audiobook.
Yeah, see, that's what I do. I'm usually up by 6 a.m. So and Debbie doesn't get up till a little bit later. So that's quiet time for me. I pick up a book and I read for about an hour. I wish I could read longer. I wish I could read at night before I go to bed. But the danger to that is I will clunk myself in the head with the book. I just fall asleep. Yeah, I'm just too tired.
Yep, I just fall asleep.
Do we have time for a parting message?
You have 2 minutes.
So,
go for it.
So I did something this last week, right? we all have things around the house that kind of pile up, and you go, what am I going to do with that? And you don't make a decision, and you get like piles of those things. I had one of
Have you been
those.
to my house?
I had a genii kind of happening last week. I had a refrigerator that didn't work in my
We
garage.
talked about this,
I
yeah.
had some stuff, and I made an appointment with my son, and I went to the dump, right? And I took some stuff. It didn't serve me any longer. Got them out of my sight, took it to the dump. You know, everyone in Washoe County gets one free dump.
Oh,
Yeah. Unless it's a refrigerator or some kind of thing with stuff. But if you're just throwing away junk, you get a truckload free. But anyway, how good I felt with that extra garage room and just the ridding of that stuff. Right, in yoga, we try to get rid of those things in our minds that don't serve us anymore. I think that's wise. I also think we're way too materialistic, but things that don't serve you, get them gone. Feel good about it, right?
That's
Trade
great
them,
advice.
yard sale. Let's feel good again.
What a great, you guys are just so
wait a
inspiring.
minute. Here's a book for you.
I know.
The Good Life.
A good life goes along with all of that. I mean, wow, I'm outdone. All right. On that note, this is What's the Story? I'm Janice Hermson here with Ed Knoll, Doug Ashby. We're here every week, Tuesdays, 3 to 5 Pacific, and you can hear us on American Matters Media, 93.7 FM from 7 to 9 on Tuesdays. And that's my lovely little dog, and he's a wonderful little thing.
If you're
Anyhow.
lucky, you get to hear Rusty.
That's right. All right. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
Well, not him, but us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Bye
Have
now.
a great week.